From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. I'm Dianne Parker. Jason has our Thursday forecast, plus grasshoppers causing widespread destruction all across Montana. But first, our top story. This noon, the latest on the green light for a proposed initiative asking Montanans to secure abortion rights in the state's constitution. Now, as of now, organizers have all the signatures needed to put the measure in front of voters come November. The Montana Secretary of State's office confirms Initiative 128 has enough verified signatures to qualify. Sponsors say they're excited Montana voters have the opportunity to make their voices heard. The measure would add language to the Constitution establishing the right to abortion. The Secretary of State's office has not yet announced whether other proposed initiatives have qualified, specifically a pair of measures that would overhaul Montana's election system. The deadline to certify ballot measures for November is today. With abortion now officially on the ballot, it will certainly draw a heated debate leading up to November. MTN's Matt Carmack gets reaction to the news.
Tuesday night was a win for pro-choice supporters across the state of Montana. Referendum CI 128 will be added to your November ballot, and if passed, will add abortion rights to the Montana Constitution. Putting Amendment CI 128 on the ballot has been a long process for Planned Parenthood advocates of Montana. So when the Secretary of State officially added the proposal to November's election, they were thrilled.
Just delighted and really happy for Montanans securing reproductive rights, and really for the voters of Montana who are going to get to have their say on this issue come November.
If CI 128 were to be passed this November, abortion would become a legally protected right in the Montana Constitution, allowing care before fetus viability, which is typically 24 to 28 weeks. It would also give women the choice to have abortions later than viability in the case that their healthcare provider recommends it.
And so we felt that it was really important to make sure that we are protecting this right for now and for future generations of Montanans.
CI 128 went through a number of challenges, including from Montana's Attorney General, Austin Knudsen. He marked the amendment as not legally sufficient, but was overruled by Montana's Supreme Court earlier this year. Knudsen declined to comment further on the matter Wednesday. The decision will now come down to voters. Several Wednesday voiced their support.
I think it's great. I think that people should have access. I don't think that people should be told that they can't if they need it or whatever. I don't think people should be told no.
We've got to be safe about abortions and whatnot, so not everything can be planned. So if women take that next step, that's okay.
It's expected to be a close vote. We spoke Wednesday to Cindy Norkstock, CEO of Billings Pregnancy Center Lovey Health. She was not able to do an on-camera interview, and MTN was still waiting a statement as of news time. As of now, abortion in the state of Montana is still legal, just not protected in the Constitution. However, according to Fuller, is only becoming more accessible.
And that increase of access through things like telehealth has just been phenomenal over the last couple of years.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Good Thursday afternoon, everyone. We have fairly quiet weather for now around Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, and the air quality for most of us isn't too bad. Most places good rather than moderate. However, there is more smoke coming our way. We've had additional fires starting because of lightning strikes in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. Late this afternoon through tonight, we'll have more smoke pushing to eastern Montana as well as far western Montana. With all these clouds moving in, the clouds of smoke rather, we have a little bit less active weather overnight with the fires, which means a little bit less smoke for a few hours, but it's going to be coming back on Friday. We have a topsy-turvy forecast ahead. Of all the details coming up.
Lewistown was awarded a new Veterans Affairs clinic, almost double the size of the current clinic. The new clinic will be roughly 6,100 square feet. The VA says it will continue to offer primary care, dietitian services, telehealth, lab services, and veteran transportation. Lewistown has more than 770 enrolled veterans who will be able to use this facility. The $1.7 million clinic will be located off U.S. Highway 87 west in Lewistown. It will be built out from the ground up, with construction expected to be completed by spring or summer of 2026. Montana VA will lease the facility for the next 5 years. A second lawsuit has been filed in Flathead County District Court after an E. coli outbreak left one person dead and at least 13 others infected. The Marler, Clark, and Bliven law firms filed the complaint on behalf of their client, who became sickened by the outbreak after eating at Hop's Downtown Grill in Kalispell. The grill, Lower Valley Processing in Kalispell, and Rangeland and Cattle in Columbia Falls are listed as defendants in the complaint, with 4 counts being listed, including negligence and strict liability. Food safety lawyer Bill Marler says his law firm has been contacted by people who visited Flathead County on vacation and tested positive for E. coli once returning to their home states. He expects the number of reported cases linked to Flathead County E. coli to rise dramatically.
Whether or not the Montana Health Department will report those numbers that are up, but eventually, the CDC will likely report the size of this outbreak is larger than what's been reported.
Marler expects additional lawsuits will be filed in the near future. One person is in the hospital after a motorcycle collided with a car yesterday in Billings. That accident happened around 6 p.m. at the intersection of 3rd Avenue South and South 28th Street. The motorcycle driver was transported to the hospital with what police say are life-threatening injuries. They are still investigating that crash. The search is underway for a missing climber inside Glacier National Park. 32-year-old Grant Marcusio was separated from his group while hiking from Heavens Peak to McPartland Peak Sunday afternoon. He is described as 6 feet tall, weighing 175 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing brown shorts with brown and white checkered shirt. Rangers and several other crews are searching the area from the ground and air. If you have seen Grant or have any information, please call 911. Follow up now to a story we have been covering since Monday night. Good news to report: a Glacier High School player and coach injured by a lightning strike Monday night have been released from the hospital. However, the second athlete who was hurt in the lightning strike remains in ICU on life support. The 3 were hurt at approximately 5:45 p.m. Monday after being hit by lightning during a soccer practice at Glacier High School. The athletic director told MTN News several teams were practicing on the fields at the time of the incident. The coaches were following the school's storm protocol, which states activities can resume 30 minutes after the lightning has cleared the area. It was determined by coaches monitoring weather radars that the storm had passed, but then lightning struck again. On Wednesday morning, the superintendent of the Heart Butte School District announced it will use a remote learning model for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the school year. The reasoning is, quote, due to unforeseen infrastructure issues. The main issue being the fire suppression and water systems throughout the school are not up to date. Last year, Governor Greg Gianforte extended a statewide task force digging into Montana's need for available, affordable housing. Now the task force has released another round of recommendations. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Ambarian has the very latest.
In its first year, the governor's housing task force made a long list of recommendations, many of them already on their way to being implemented. But leaders said there's still plenty of room for ideas on how to further address the housing challenges in Montana.
We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to solve it overnight either. We have to continue to work on this problem.
The task force released a final report with 23 new recommendations. They range from limiting cities' minimum lot size and parking requirements to updating building codes to investing in affordable housing loan programs. Chair Chris Dorrington says they had more time to craft these ideas and they approached them from a different perspective.
So in this case, we looked under the lens of a project. So projects that were in certain communities still facing challenges, projects in communities that were already being successful. And that different lens really added to a lot of the recommendations that we found.
Kelly Lynch with the Montana League of Cities and Towns said municipalities are already working hard to implement the housing-related measures the legislature passed last year, and they have some concerns about more changes being piled on.
I ask again, please do not run us off the tracks in working on that by requiring us to stop and work on other amendments to our ordinances.
Dorrington said they understood those concerns, but they also have to take into account that they're still hearing a lot of feedback that housing is too expensive and too hard to get.
So I wouldn't say that we want to take our foot off the gas yet. I do respect that there are some bills and some changes yet being implemented. It takes time, but I don't think we can mute the concerns that we've heard even during this phase of the report development.
Several laws that implemented the task force's earlier recommendations are currently held up in court as part of a lawsuit filed in Gallatin County. A panel of the Montana Supreme Court is currently considering that case. Dorrington says this will likely be the last time the task force meets before the 2025 legislative session, but he expects that the members of the task force will continue to make the case for their recommendations as lawmakers consider them. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.